home for a weekend series, July 18th, 19th, and 20th. The homestand includes post-game fireworks for Tennessee Titans night, Friday the 18th, and Margaritaville night on Saturday the 19th, before concluding the weekend on the 20th as the Lunáticos de Rocket City. Get your tickets for the homestand now at TrashPandasBaseball.com.
Tom Abraham here for my friends at Your Home Window Company. When it comes to replacement windows, exterior doors, or new window screens, Your Home Window is the answer anywhere in Huntsville, Athens, Decatur, or Hartselle. Your Home Window windows and doors are made here in the USA and come with a lifetime warranty. When replacing those old windows or doors, Your Home Window has the solution for you. In-home estimates are always free and financing is available. Learn more at yourhomewindow.com and see clearly with Your Home Window. Visit yourhomewindow.com to make an appointment today.
John Abraham here for the parts department at Bobcat of Huntsville. Not only do these guys carry genuine OEM Bobcat parts, they also have a full line of Marshalltown concrete supplies. On top of that, they have a wide selection of arborist tools and supplies on hand for you tree guys. Bobcat of Huntsville also has a full service department, and don't forget the sales and rental guys too. Come on down and visit the all-new Bobcat of Huntsville location in Madison on Highway 20 next to the Redstone Harley-Davidson.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner at University Kia, proudly saying roll tide and war eagle. Stop into University Kia today and shop one of the area's largest selection of new Kias, including Fortes, Seltos, Tellurides, and Popular Carnival, and fully electric EV6. View all the great specials at universitykia.com and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia you really want, because we want to see you in a University Kia.
Are you tired of power outages disrupting your life? It's time for a Generac standby generator from Current Electrical. Storms may rage outside, but inside your family's powered up. So why choose Current Electrical for your generator needs? 1, we offer a wide range of models to suit every budgeted energy requirement. 2, our project managers handle every step of the process: power, gas, permitting, and inspections. 3, our certified technicians install your generator with precision, ensuring peace of mind. Don't wait for the next blackout. Call 256-880-1880 or visit us online at jetsuperstore.com.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
With the summer heating up, it's time to cool down, and what better way to do that than enjoy some Handel's homemade ice cream. Handel's Ice Cream makes each batch by hand using only the best tasting ingredients to serve ice cream lovers in the Tennessee Valley. With 2 locations to serve ice cream lovers along Highway 72 West and 1 in Jones Valley, the #1 ice cream on the planet, according to National Geographic magazine, is just a quick drive and scoop away. It's Handel's Ice Cream, where the proof is in the scoop.
Listen to the Rocket City Trash Pandas all season long. Trash Panda Baseball is only on Talk Radio WZZN. WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. This hour is brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford, Alabama's F-150 Superstore. Welcome to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 256-576-4977.
That's how I roll, and I'm not going to drink and drive anymore.
That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Wes and Steve.
Well, it happened again today. I don't know why we're not in Frisco, Texas. I mean, Big 12 Media Day kicked off today, and I'm telling you, we're missing out. I don't know why the SEC's playing. How are you, Wes?
Doing good.
Good to see you.
It gets serious from here on out, doesn't it? With media days coming, it's
here we go.
Yeah.
So before I get to Brett Yormark, and he got into it a little bit,
I do have a public service announcement for all Penn State Nittany Lion fans out there.
Michigan won a natty. Buckeyes won a natty. The two best players in the country next year are a receiver and a corner, Caleb Downs, Jeremiah Smith, or Buckeyes. And I think Penn State has the best backfield in the country. And I think I have the Nittany Lions winning a natty. Although I think it's hard to, the journey through the Big Ten now is tough because Washington and USC are going to be better.
Tough.
Urban Meyer is now joining us. Urban, for years and years, you knew and I knew and the world knew the SEC was better. And I don't know who's better in the middle or the tail end. But I think if you took the top 4 teams today in the Big Ten, which would be Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, and then we can argue over 4. I think they are today as good. My lean is slightly better than the SEC.
Why are we going to Atlanta? I mean, it's
because he's never right. Anyway, go ahead.
I just
so tell me what I want to hear.
You want to hear some common sense came from Urban Meyer.
Well, I think he's
and honestly, over the last year and a half, 2 years. I mean, other than the bells in the background in his house.
Well, that was. He was bragging then. Yeah. Only retired people have those things.
He's been spitting out some common sense.
There were 28 players drafted average in the Big Ten. This past year, there were 71. That's
wow.
Double. So how do you measure conferences, championships, Big Ten the last 2 years? And those were 2 great teams. The Wolverines and the Buckeyes, great teams. But then the second way to measure it, the NFL and the SEC's, I think it's 19 straight years they've had more draft picks than everyone else. They still do, but the Big Ten's much closer.
Well, yeah, I'd agree with that 100%. How can you argue not? I don't think the Big Ten is. I think the Big Four are.
Yeah.
I mean, most of those players came from
and that
Ohio
was
State,
that was
Michigan.
The biggest point that Greg Sankey wanted to get across. It's not necessarily about the top third. It's about the lower 2/3 on how tougher it is to go through that.
Yeah, I would love to play the bottom half I'd play all Big Ten schools if you got to play the bottom half. Give me, Maryland gets good players, but they're not consistently good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to be interesting what happens to Loxley this year. I mean, he's lost all his original coaches pretty much.
Has he?
Yeah, and my understanding is he has a restaurant he likes a lot, so that he owns. So that's not good. No distractions.
Would you like to hear the future of a media days open? Because I feel like this is coming all across the board. This happened. So Brett Yormark began, I think, appropriately with a moment of silence for those that have lost lives.
Well, yeah, especially
in the state of Texas.
Of course, that's what you should do because that's in the middle of their market too. As well.
Long moment of silence, and very appropriately so. Then
it's great to have our 2025 football media days powered by Microsoft Copilot back in Texas.
I mean, that was the very next sentence.
Yeah.
Welcome to the future, ladies and gentlemen.
They're going to do anything for money now at this point. Everything's for sale. And out of have to now. So
indeed. There is let's see here. He was selling us again on the depth of the extreme depth. This is your sales pitch from Brett Yormark on the depth of the Big 12.
Looking ahead, our focus remains on thriving in this new era of college athletics. Strengthening our football product remains essential. We are committed to continued investment and growth. Every school in our league has committed to providing the highest level of benefits to our student athletes. And once again, I believe we will be the deepest football conference in America. No league offers the competitive balance that we do. Last season, the Big 12 led the nation in fourth quarter lead changes and go-ahead scores in the final minute of conference games. And this year, our star power, especially at quarterback, will be on full display. The Big 12 returns 9 starting quarterbacks who threw for over 2,400 yards last season. The rest of the Power 4 combined, just 11.
Those are all matrices everybody should go by. Passing yards from last year.
We're going to Atlanta. Why?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's just stupid.
I
mean, they had more lead changes. Who cares? How'd they do against everybody else? Not so good. That's just, I mean, they had to be. I mean, somebody did a good job coming up with those stats. But,
someone was crunching numbers
for a long time to get to that.
I'm telling you.
Anyways, he has a positive attitude.
Yes, he does. So, yes, he does.
I admired that somewhat.
This is not edited. This is at the tail end of his speech. I did not edit this.
I will continue to collaborate with my commissioner colleagues on a new governance model that will provide the Power 4 with more autonomy and influence around decision-making in key areas. We anticipate this being done sometime in August. We will also advance our work with the College Sports Commission and CEO Brian Seeley. One of the primary goals of CSC is to change the market from pay-for-play to a market of true third-party NIL. The CSC's enforcement of punitive measures towards those who break the rules will change behavior in college athletics. It is crucial that CSC leadership, my Power 4 colleagues, and I continue to spend the time necessary to guide and partner with our schools into this new age of college athletics. Alongside the CSC, we will still need congressional help, and we continue to work towards that. This is a defining moment for all of us, and one that we need to take full advantage of. There has never been a better time to be part of the Big 12 than right now. Our football product will compete at the highest levels. We've been the best conference in men's basketball over the last 10 years, and we are doubling down on women's basketball and Olympic sports.
Again, he
what matrix he uses? Is that true? I wouldn't know. How many championships?
There is a lot that I just meat and potatoes wise, like there's a lot there that I'm on board with, but then all of a sudden the left turn there at the end of I guess we're encompassing all.
I'm sure they came up with some matrix for that for the last 10 years.
Probably.
If you go to 9 or 11, then maybe not so much.
And once again, another conference commissioner. We certainly heard this out of Greg Sankey down on the beach about the 5+11.
Speaking of the CFP, we continue to believe the 5-11 model proposed by the Big 12 and the ACC is the right playoff format for college football. We want to earn it on the field. We do not need a professional model because we are not the NFL. We are college football, and we must act like it. There is nothing in sports like college football, and we must protect what makes it special and do what's right for the fans and the game.
So a little Q&A right afterwards.
So he said he was for what now? The 5+11?
5+11.
So he's for 16 games?
16 teams.
Because they're not the NFL. Well, what does that have to do with each other? I'm trying to figure that out. How does that?
I don't know the answer to your question, but I do know that Barry Trammell got him. Barry Trammell, a good friend of the program who's covered college football for decades. He was asked, listen to Barry Trammell. This was about the third or fourth question on the Q&A.
You asked me, I think, my first question 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
I can't remember.
Do you remember that?
I do not remember that at all.
I think it was about the TV deal, or maybe it was about Oklahoma and Texas. I don't know what it was.
It was some nonsense.
Yeah, it was some nonsense. You're right. But go ahead, my friend. Good to see you.
You mentioned the Big 12 support for 5-11 model. Last season, the committee didn't show much respect to the Big 12 in its final rankings. Is there a tightrope you have to walk when you're trying to decide whether to support the 511 or the automatic qualifiers? Getting two automatics might be enticing after the respect that the committee failed to show you.
I have a lot of faith in the selection process. I was recently in North Carolina. We had a CFP meeting that was hosted by the executive director, Richard Clark, who's here today. Welcome, Richard. They are doing a full audit of the selection process to figure out how they can modernize and contemporize and how they use data and how certain metrics can be more heavily weighted. Most importantly, they have a great leader, Mac Rhodes of Baylor. And I have a lot of faith in Mac Rhodes and the work he's doing with the selection committee. So I have a lot of faith in what they're doing. And 511 is fair. We want to earn it on the field. It might not be the best solution today for the Big 12, given your comments about AQs. Long term, knowing the progress we're making, the investments we're making, it's the right format for us. And I'm doubling down today on 511. And I know Jim Phillips will, and I'm sure some of the other conference commissioners will as well.
That is, of course, Jim Phillips, the ACC commissioner who he's referencing there.
Well, I wonder if they're going to, the new matrices he thinks they use have to do with fourth quarter league changes.
I'm sure there's some ESPN stat we don't know about right now.
Yeah.
Strength of fourth quarter
league changes. They had more fourth quarter league changes than any one other conference.
It's unprecedented. If you do want to go back and entertain yourself, go and watch some coverage of Big 12 media.
Being positive though, I have no problem, but some of that stuff could have gone unsaid, and I thought overall he did a pretty good job. They want 511, they want 16 teams. That gives them a chance to get more in there.
Well, they are making apps now.
Yeah,
I found that out today. The Big 12 is making apps. They're making apps for. Well, here is one more soundbite from. This is part of the initial welcome to the Big 12 Media Days in Frisco, Texas.
From a brand perspective, the Big 12 profile is as strong as it's ever been. We truly have become a national conference, and our narrative has extended beyond the sports page. This year, you'll see us double down in that effort, including exploring documentaries and storytelling opportunities, new ventures in licensing and collectibles, a continuation of our partnership with WWE, and a new partnership that will give every Big 12 student athlete their own custom app, completely free, to help build their personal brand.
Completely free. But you didn't know about the WWE partnership? That was announced last year. They had belts at the title game last year when Arizona State. Yeah, they're evidently they're announcing some sort of new agreement with the WWE.
Have halftime.
I mean, if halftime doesn't involve a folding table, I'm not watching.
He was asked.
I'd be careful being on the flag court.
Man, I see some flag court people that would. I think WWE would be in trouble.
Mm. Well, they are announcing something tomorrow about a bigger tie to the WWE, because that's exactly what college sports needs. That is what is essential to grow the brand of college sports.
Here you go.
Tie in
College Game Day back on the NFL when Hank Williams Jr. would do the song for the NFL Sunday night. Okay, College Game Day or whatever. The Undertaker.
Powered by Microsoft Copilot.
Do you believe in the hereafter? Because that's what I'm here after.
Wow.
Microsoft Copilot.
Powered by Microsoft Copilot.
What does that do?
I have no idea.
That's Siri for Windows is what it is.
Powered by Microsoft Copilot.
All I know is we're going to be drinking Dr. Pepper next week.
Darn right. Like it has no other.
Yeah. And banking at Regions. I do know that's going to happen next week. Anyway, that is a little bit of Big Ten Media Day. Jesse Simonton, who is a good friend of the program. In fact, he came on last year just about at this time. I believe it was me floating the idea that Vanderbilt could hang with Virginia Tech, and it sounded like he was in the pool. Remember?
Yeah.
Like he was in the hot tub or something.
Right. That's
Daddy time in the tub? Or, yeah.
That's popular now.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
So Jesse's going to join us. And then also at the top of the hour, Trevor Maddich is also going to join us as we are going to get you set for 2 hours of an endeavor right here this Tuesday evening. And certainly your phone calls are welcome at 256-576-4977. The telephone number if you'd like to participate. You know what? Back to Urban Meyer talking to Colin Cowherd last week. Colin did ask Urban the 3 best teams just roster-wise, not schedule. I thought it was a well-worded question by Colin. The 3 best rosters in college football are who?
Texas, Ohio State, and Penn State is following the lead of the Wolverines and the Buckeyes, and that is they have more seniors. Think about this, Colin, that I never had a chance to coach fourth-year players. If I did, it was very rare. And the difference between a fourth-year player and a rookie or a freshman is night and day. You're coaching grown-ass men. You're coaching. That's a men's locker room compared to a young person. So
100%.
Watch out for Penn State, man. If Drew Aller can really improve as a quarterback, I agree with you. They got the best backfield. I don't think it's close in the country. They got an offensive line that they can't wait to get on the field. Yeah, I think Penn State, Texas, and Ohio State are the 3 most talented.
That is Urban Meyer's answer to that question. So just keep a close eye on Penn State, Ohio State, and Texas. Those are the 3 best rosters, at least according to Urban Meyer. And experience is a big deal. Valuable experience, and able to keep some of those players was James Franklin through their collective. And now that these are paid athletes now playing college football as well for the Nittany Lions.
Well, nobody paid more than Ohio State till Texas. And
yep.
I don't know what Penn State's paying. So
I would love to know that answer.
I think they lost their 2 best players, though.
I thought so too.
I mean,
I'm going to take a deeper dive into the experience.
Yeah, they got their quarterback back, but the guys that won them games last year are not there.
Yeah.
Now there could be guys behind them that'll pick up the slack, and I agree with what Coach Meyer saying about the having seniors versus playing freshmen is night and day. There's some really good freshmen, but 4th and 5th year guys make a huge difference. Huge.
So we will see what happens.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
Because James Franklin is always on the edge of being elite, but he has yet to really break through.
The only people that think Penn State doesn't have a chance to win the national championship are Penn State fans. They don't believe that Franklin can get them there.
They were 13-3 last year.
They think he's a great 3-loss coach that did a great job with Penn State with all the issues they have, because nobody talks about those anymore. You know what I'm saying? They
did grab Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator,
but they lost their defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
That's a big deal too. I mean, because the defense is going to be a little different. There'll be some learning curves. I just don't think Penn State I don't think they'll win. I don't think the quarterback's going to win.
Goodness gracious. Right out of the gate, it's Nevada, FIU, and Villanova.
Well, they don't play anybody.
Then they've got Oregon, but that's at home. But, goodness gracious.
Yeah, but I think Oregon will beat them. I just don't think,
Even in Happy Valley?
Yes.
We shall see. Let's go ahead and take our first time out. Jesse Simonton is set to join us on the other side on this Tuesday edition of The Drive.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hi, folks. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, inviting you to come test drive any one of our over 100 F-150s. From rock-solid, dependable work trucks to our state-of-the-art Platinum Series, we've got an F-150 for you. Test drive one today, and you'll understand why the F-150 is the best-selling truck in America, going on 48 years in a row. Just as successful offenses and defenses are built on teamwork, Woody Anderson Ford is powered by our people. Our sales and service teams are well trained to save you time and money. And because we want your business again and again, no one will work harder to earn it. Our mobile service teams come to your home or business for oil changes, brake work, tire rotations, and more. And the great thing is you don't pay extra for it. We come to you with mobile service at no extra charge. Proud to be local, family-owned, and at your service for over 62 years. Woody Anderson Ford, Alabama's F-150 Superstore.
Since 1983, Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate's Ann Adams has been your local go-to real estate expert in the area. As a buyer, you can trust Ann's in-depth knowledge of the local housing market to narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in, saving you time when shopping for a new home. When you're ready to sell, Ann's expert negotiation skills will ensure you get a fair price and hassle-free experience. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or email annadamsrise@gmail.com.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve. And we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Hey there, Bob Baumhauer again. Baumhauer's Victory Grill is extremely proud to have recently received numerous awards, including being voted best wings in the state of Alabama. Other awards received include Best All-Around Restaurant, Best American Restaurant, #1 Sports Bar, Best Chef, Best Wings, and Best Dining Experience. Thank you for 43 legendary years, and we look forward to providing you an award-winning dining experience at every visit. Baumhauer's Victory Grill. Legendary fun, legendary food.
Eagle Masonry and Installation. It's right there in the name. Eagle is your one-stop shop for block, stone, or brickwork, monument signs, and outdoor kitchens and fireplaces. Eagle also offers the finest craftsmanship and insulation, including fiberglass or spray foam insulation, and of course, insulation removal. Philip Love and his team have years of experience, bringing the region the best in masonry and insulation services. For more information and a quote, visit insulatewitheagle.com or call 256-755-1556. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
This segment of The Drive is brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford, located online at woodyAndersonFord.com with 2 locations, Hughes Road in Madison and Jordan Lane in Huntsville.
Back here on The Drive, along with Wes Neighbors, Steve Moulton back here with you. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you Braves fans that the Braves will not lose today. We got Braves baseball coming up later on tonight, taking on the Athletics. Braves and Athletics later on tonight from Sacramento. We'll see whether or not the Braves can bounce back after getting swept by the Baltimore Orioles. We shall see. Yeah, that was a tough weekend. Anyway, let's dive back into some college football. Because after all, getting swept by the Orioles was my signal that it is indeed football season. Jesse Simonton is kind enough to join us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. What do you say there, Jesse? How are you?
Doing better than the Braves. My mighty Chapa Talk team has been completely underwhelming this year. So let's talk some college football.
I didn't know you were a Braves fan. I thought maybe that time there at South Beach that maybe you latched onto the Marlins or something, but
No, I mean I was born just south of Atlanta, so I grew up a huge Braves fan in the early '90s. Going to all those. Steve Avery and Fred McGriff were Tom Glavine, two of my favorite players early on, and then obviously Chipper and the dynasty continued, and then they've had a heck of a run the last 7 years, and won one World Series. Probably should have won at least two, but now this is the wheels have come off big time this season.
A little bit. It's anyway. Let's. There is too much to cover, honestly, around college sports, and I know everyone was focused on July 1st, and it's a new day, but this has been such a big story that encompasses so much. What intrigues you most, honestly, about these universities adapting to now cutting checks more than anything, Jesse?
I'll tell you what interests me the most, honestly, Steve, is that the closer we get to August 1 is we're going to really start be talking about football, and we're not going to be as consumed with everything that's happening, off the field from the sport. Not to say that it's not important, not to say it's not dramatic, that it's not full of intrigue, whether it's the House settlement, whether it's all the stuff with still the bubbling conference realignment, the college football playoff, all that. I'm just ready to talk some ball. In terms of the revenue sharing aspect, I think that the biggest thing that honestly I think interests me is really just hitting pause. Like, let's see how this plays out before we make, sweeping conclusions one way or another, whether it's a positive or negative, whether this somehow means that suddenly the sport's going to see even more parity because schools like Texas A&M, if you have a big billionaire backer, can both use the House settlement money and then that money to, compete for 5 stars. I think we're going to need both coming off of as we've seen with the transfer portal, and now some of the other stuff with NIL, which now we're basically in phase 2 or phase 3 of this now. We're going to need multiple cycles before we can really actually, I think, come to real conclusions and make and say this is what it might mean for the future of the sport. Right now, everybody's just kind of throwing their hands up and they're saying, all right, well, we're going to do this if the governing body acts like Y, or we're going to do X if they're going to act like Z. And so there's a lot of give and take right now, and that's kind of just where we're at. And what I'm most, I guess, interested in seeing is kind of where do people pivot and make those decisions, and how does that actually affect the future, say, in 2028 and 2029.
That's fair. But I will say, at least from my perspective, reading and prepping up for this particular SEC Media Days, I feel like I am as less prepared as more than normal, simply because so many teams in the spring decided, one, not to have a spring game, and two, there was very little coverage. I feel like I'm kind of walking in blind next week.
Yeah, I'm someone that as the longer I've been covering the sport, the less I've actually taken away, or I shouldn't say less I've taken away, the less I actually believe in a lot of what happens in spring ball, just because so much has continued over the years to become more and more guarded. Whether it was, teams scouting plays to then now it's team scouting players.
Yeah.
I just think that it's become so watered down that you're not wrong at all, I think, in saying that, during all these media day events are going to start over the next, Big 12 started today, and then all these other ones that are starting over the next couple of weeks, that we are vastly underwhelmed in terms of the coverage of a lot of these teams, just because it hasn't been, in the ether, so to speak, during the off season. But I would say the flip side is that maybe that allows us to, when you're doing the research, you're doing the kind of stuff, you're seeing, okay, they have they have these guys coming back. They brought these guys in from the portal. They were good at this a year ago. They were bad at that last season. Maybe it allows us to kind of make our own conclusions instead of being kind of biased against, what we're being told.
Yeah. Well, even to the point where I can remember hearing a positive note from Bobby Petrino about Madden Iamaleava, and then he turns around and he's part of UCLA. But with the Iamaleavas heading out to UCLA, even that little off remark, at least talking to David Basil, he equated that comment right there as him putting a spotlight on Madden Iamaleava, and he turned around and was gone for in theory, a better deal.
Yeah, I mean, we'll obviously. I mean, that's a good example. I mean, there's a ton of others that I'm sure that are out there like that. That coaches are trying to talk up, a player in the spring for personal reasons, so to speak, so that they stay on the roster. But as we saw, there was plenty of movement, during the spring portal as well. And so these teams that you thought you might have had a beat on in January look even more differently today as we sit here, early July.
And I see certain win totals at least catch my eye. And I saw Brett McMurphy tweet this out, I believe, yesterday on the updated win totals for SEC teams. Tennessee at 8.5. I'm not that high on the Vols, although it's July 8th. But I mean, in terms of what's coming back and certainly losing a quarterback as well, I'm not as high on Tennessee as clearly the odds makers like Tennessee. Do you like Tennessee?
Well, I do think, I think that I would say the odds makers are betting on the fact that they think that maybe they thought Dylan Sampson was perhaps not as vital to the Vols as maybe you or I did.
Yeah.
I thought he was pretty darn important. Yeah. I think there's some confidence in Knoxville that maybe that receiving core, that, former 5-star Mike Matthews is going to take a step up, that Braswell, who kind of underwhelmed a year ago, the big transfer, that he's going to make a leap. They brought in another freshman, Staley, I think, is supposed to be a pretty good player. But I think if you're betting on Tennessee being, an 9-3 team, you're banking on the fact that that they basically, if they didn't lose the trade, they at least hit a push in the quarterback trade with Nico going to UCLA and Aguilar coming to Tennessee. I think Aguilar was a really good G5 quarterback at App State and has some tools. He does not have near the upside or just raw potential that Nico, but maybe his floor is a little bit higher. And so, if they do get Alabama, they have to go to Alabama.
Yeah.
They played Georgia really early in the season at home, which is strange. They're at Florida at the end of the season, which could be a big, boom or bust game for both teams, frankly, depending on kind of how their seasons unfold. So I think they have a really cupcake non-conference schedule, so that probably factors into that win total too.
Yeah, that's completely fair. But it at the top of it, it's Alabama, Georgia, Texas, all at 9.5 wins, and everyone is kind of latching on to Texas. But I think Alabama in particular is bringing back so many. I like what Kalen DeBoer is bringing to the table. What do you like about Alabama in year 2 for Kalen DeBoer?
They're my pick to win the SEC this year, not Texas. I know Texas is pretty universally, seen as the number one team. They're kind of number one in a lot of preseason polls. And I get it, Arch. And by the end of the year, I mean, Texas may honestly have the best 3 players in the league when you're talking about Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill, linebacker, and then, Malik Muhammad at defensive back. The best 3 players at their individual positions, I should qualify that. But Alabama may not be far behind. And, Alabama with Ryan Williams. I like what Alabama was returning, unlike Texas on the offensive line. I think, they're returning three key starters, including maybe the best center in the country. I think everyone sees Caden Proctor, if he hits, as a top 10 pick. Obviously, Ryan Williams. If there wasn't a guy named Jeremiah Smith in college football, Ryan Williams would be the best receiver in the country. I think year 2 for Nard in the SEC. I think he got his feet wet a year ago. I think he's going to be much better. And then I think that defense is going to be ridiculous. I think the secondary, just chalked with 5 stars that are now going to be entering like year 2 or year 3 at Alabama, year 2 in that system. Tim Keenan is a really good veteran defensive tackle. Dante Lawson, great linebacker. The depth is there. And then, frankly, it doesn't really matter to me who's playing quarterback. I think it's probably going to be Ty Simpson. But Austin Mack was, the choice of that coaching staff. When they were at Washington, he followed him, back there. Ryan Grubb is now back, on Kalen DeBoer's staff. I think that is a big deal. That is something that should not be, overlooked. And then you have kind of a 5-star, super athletic Keon Russell, kind of waiting in the wings. So Alabama, they're right now kind of my preseason pick. I could see them kind of having a very similar season to maybe like what happened to Georgia a year ago, in terms of maybe they lose a game or two, even against, those Bulldogs, at the end of September. But then maybe they get a little bit of revenge in Atlanta.
Interesting. Because honestly, Georgia,
that's what I'm hearing in Tuscaloosa. They're very high on themselves. And apparently Ty Simpson is just getting better and better. So we'll see. Usually I get to go to scrimmages. I didn't in the spring because they were so early.
Kalen did not consult with us.
Yeah, that was bad. But I couldn't believe how confident the people around the program are that Alabama's going to be very, very good. They'll be, and just building up more expectations. So we'll see.
Well, they need to be good. Frankly, coming off last season, and Kalen DeBoer, didn't forget how to coach. And, he lost some games a year ago that he probably shouldn't have. Obviously, the Vanderbilt game was seen as quite embarrassing, but I would say the Oklahoma loss was really kind of the nadir there.
Yep, you're spot
the
on.
talent that they had on that roster. The Michigan, no-show in the bowl game was kind of embarrassing as well. So they need a good showing. They're clearly killing it on the recruiting trail. And now they have, the opportunity to kind of, say, hey, Alabama hadn't gone anywhere during the regular season.
So do you have somebody that maybe is not on everybody else's radar you think is going to be really good?
Nationally or in terms of
nationally? It doesn't matter who you.
Yeah.
I think that it's not on everybody's radar. The funny thing is that I tweeted out yesterday, kind of going through some research and stuff. I'm definitely much more down on Miami, I think, than most people are nationally. Here's the team for you. I don't think that they can win the Big Ten, but I think that Washington could potentially sneak into the college football playoff if Desmond Williams is as good as I think he is.
Really?
And he's not a guy that a lot of people know about yet because he wasn't the starter a year ago, but he played a ton. I think in Fish's offense, he's going to be really good. I could see him by the end of the season potentially being the most exciting quarterback in the Big Ten. Drew Aller is obviously the headliner name, and you have all the former 5-stars in Sayin and Underwood and Raiola and all these guys. But I think, the dual threat ability of Desmond Williams, he can really pitch it too. There's some good receivers there. Washington, I think, is a dark horse team. I don't think they can win the Big Ten. I don't think they could quite have that ceiling. But I think there's a potential that they could sneak, into the college football playoff. And they're not a team that I don't think is even on the many, preseason top 25 lists.
You also tweeted out earlier today, of course, Big 12 Media Day. I've already played some stuff from Brett Yormark, but maybe the quote of the day came from Scott Frost on don't take the wrong job was his lesson about taking Nebraska is a brand. And I know they haven't been good for a while, but that really at least raised my eyebrows.
Well, how can you say that when he's the one that took it?
Yeah.
And it's his
alma mater.
Yeah.
That's
well, he also followed it up with saying, part of his lesson is you don't take a job if you don't. I said I would never take a job unless I could win a national championship, but I went to Nebraska because my alma mater needed me, implying that he didn't think that Nebraska could win a national championship. The irony being, I don't think anything he said was wrong, but I think it also screams a lack of transparency and would be concerning to me because he has not learned any lessons that from the reasons why he screwed up at Nebraska. There's a lot of stuff we don't have to get into, but it was not necessarily humming off the field with Scott Frost and that staff. And so I shouldn't say lack of transparency, more like a lack of accountability, excuse me.
Yeah.
And I just think that if I'm a UCF fan, not great.
So what has changed in your opinion? Can somebody win the national championship? Why can't they win the national championship at Nebraska?
I just don't think that they recruit consistently at a level to do so. And this is not the 70s, 80s, and early 90s when you could stack your roster with walk-ons and run these underground strength and conditioning programs. It's a different world. We've entered a different era of the sport. It's a talent acquisition game now, and they can get a Dylan Raiola, but they can't get 10 Dylan Raiolas. And so if you don't have that ability to stack, talent on talent on talent, plus the fact that they no longer, are playing in the Big 12, they're playing in the Big 10, you add up some of those factors. I don't think Nebraska can actually win a national championship right now.
Wow. The SEC is getting hammered, obviously, from a national stage because the SEC has not even been in the title game the last 2 years. But would you say the top 4 out of the Big 10 is better than the top 4 out of the SEC?
This season?
Yes, sir.
So we're talking Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon. And who are you considered number 4?
I'm all ear. Washington, given your argument,
I would still take. I would still take the SEC
because the top 4 would be Bama, Texas, Georgia, LSU.
Let's just say it's Bama, Georgia, Texas top 3,
Mm-hmm.
and Oregon State, Ohio State top 3. I think that there's way more candidates to be that 4th team in the SEC than there is in the Big 10.
Okay,
you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. No, that debate's being put out there. I just wanted to get your 2 cents on it, Jesse.
I would still take the SEC because there's a chance that 4th team could be LSU, it could be Texas A&M, it could be Ole Miss, it could be Tennessee. Whereas in the Big 10, I do like Washington, yes. But there's, after Washington, it's probably, you're talking about, is it Maryland? Is it Michigan, excuse me? Is it Illinois this season? Iowa? So we'll see.
Are you heading to the ATL next week?
I am actually not. So it was good to catch up with you guys.
Likewise. It's always fun to catch up, Jesse, and look forward to talking to you down the road, sir.
Sounds good. See you guys.
And we really didn't even get into a conversation about Auburn, and I wanted to do that as well, but it's certainly a big year down on the plains for one Hugh Freeze. We'll let you know who is going to represent these schools, as that was released earlier today. by the SEC office. And we'll also hear from Trevor Maddich at the top of the hour as well. 256-576-4977, the telephone number. Let's go ahead and take our final timeout. We will be right back.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Tom Luganville here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
If hunting and outdoor recreation are your passions, it all starts with the right property. That's where I come in. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction, a hunting and recreational land specialist and a Jackson County native who sees land through a hunter's eyes. Just as you trust your guide on a big game hunt, you can trust me to find the perfect property for you. Thinking of selling? Let me help you make your land attract buyers. Remember, Bo knows land. Call me at 256-609-0512.
Tom Abraham here for my friends at Your Home Window Company. When it comes to replacement windows, exterior doors, or new window screens, Your Home Window is the answer anywhere in Huntsville, Athens, Decatur, or Hartselle. Your Home Window windows and doors are made here in the USA and come with a lifetime warranty. When replacing those old windows or doors, Your Home Window has the solution for you. In-home estimates are always free and financing is available. Learn more at yourhomewindow.com and see clearly with Your Home Window. Visit yourhomewindow.com to make an appointment today.
John Abraham here for Bobcat of Huntsville. Right now till the end of June, you can get 0% financing on the world-famous line of Bobcat skid steers, excavators, mowers, and tractors. Need attachments? They got them. And did I mention 0% as in nada? No financing charge for 48 months. It's like free money. Visit the brand new Bobcat of Huntsville in their tremendous new facilities on Highway 20 in Madison, right next to Redstone Harley-Davidson.
This is Steve Moulton for Tellini's Italiano. Tellini's Italiano is located right in front of the Walmart, right off of University, behind the McDonald's. More or less catty corner from Topgolf. It's one of my favorite places to go to, and if you go there, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you need to try the baked spaghetti, add a meatball. Also try the baked ziti with meat sauce, add sausage. You'll thank me. Save room for some pizzas and paninis as well. And don't forget about dessert as well. The best cheesecake I have had here in North Alabama is at Tellini's Italiano. Find out for yourself today. That's Tellini's Italiano, right off of University Drive in front of the Walmart. Located online at Tellinis.com. That's TELLINIS.com. Let's get some Tellini's tonight.
Sure, Valley Equipment Rental takes care of the homeowner and his needs, but how about the pros out there? Well, Valley Equipment has the big stuff as well. The equipment you need to get any job done. I'm talking about the big track hoe excavators, from the 30,000-pound mid-size one to the big boy 50,000-pound units. Need a dozer on the job? Well, they've got them up to 105 horsepower, and that's a good-sized machine. Plus, Valley Equipment has more lifts than anyone around. Up to 80-foot booms that reach 56 feet with a 10,000-pound capacity. 2 locations, North and South Parkway. Check them out today.
Your Fox 54 weather, brought to you by Tellini's Italiano.
I'm Fox 54 meteorologist Emily Owen. A few isolated showers could continue to linger for this Tuesday night. Otherwise, expect to sit under a mostly clear sky with low temperatures falling into the low 70s. Heading into our Wednesday, rain chances increase as well as temperatures. We're going to rise back into the low 90s. Scattered showers and thunderstorms in the forecast.
Your Fox 54 weather, only on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Weekday mornings beginning at 7 a.m. Only on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is a long wait for the post right here.
You're a professional. I think you got it.
Gotta hit the post.
Okay.
All right. Back at it here on the drive. We are about 10-ish minutes away from Trevor Maddich. Your phone calls obviously welcome. I'll get into the win totals that I shared with the class yesterday. But let's talk to JJ, who's called in. You can call in, too, at 256-576-4977. How are you, JJ?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Doing real well. Appreciate the call.
So I was listening just a second ago. Y'all talking about the top 4 teams in the SEC versus the Big Ten.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to tell you from being a Michigan fan all my life, don't hesitate on the University of Michigan. I know for a fact that they probably going to have one of the best defenses in college football.
What makes you believe that, JJ?
Who they got coming back and the experience, and then who they got coming in.
Who do they have coming in?
So, yeah, didn't they lose some of the best defensive linemen? Didn't they have the third-round pick was from there, right?
In the back, you got to remember their backups will probably be starting on any other team just about in the country.
Well, what kind of collective in terms of payment? I mean, is it like Ohio State level, or I'm honestly curious about this,
I mean,
JJ.
from what I know,
Because what Stewart's gone, Graham's gone, Loveland's gone, Edwards is gone.
We talking about defense.
Mhm.
On offense, if they don't turn the ball over and score enough points, and they score 17 points a game, they got a different type of season. That's all it's going to take.
Now, they did pick up Justice Haynes.
And, of course, we're
That's
gonna
on the
beat Ohio
offensive
State.
side from Alabama. Also, Damon Payne Jr. Also.
Who came home.
He did come home. Yes, he did. From Alabama to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So
the defense is what's going to win championships.
Yeah, but they've lost two of the best defensive guys in the country. The number 3 pick.
And
Nobody's going to be as good as him. I'm just saying. Do you think any of these guys will be the third pick of the draft?
But you notice in the Alabama game, who dominated the Alabama game? Because they double
the
team.
rain.
They double team. Well,
that's a fact right there. That's a fact right there.
You play football in all weather. They ain't always.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, you asked.
You
I
asked,
mean,
and I asked.
yeah. That's a fact.
And we play football in all weathers up north. Down here, they don't.
Well, when they play us and they'll come play us in the summer, they'd melt like butter. Yeah, they melt like butter.
I've been in Alabama since '97. I only seen Alabama play a game north of Kentucky once or twice.
Well, last year you saw it last year,
and in 2011.
Who they play then?
Played at Penn State.
We played them every year when I was there, 10 years in a row, and they dropped us.
I said since '97.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, if y'all won't play us, y'all won't, because y'all don't want to have to come down here and play us in the summer.
Hey, you remember when Alabama had a home and home series with Michigan State? Who bought out the home and home series?
I don't remember that.
Alabama did.
Yeah.
Go look it up.
Right.
These facts. They real.
I'm using all the facts. I can tell you all about it. Right? Penn State bought us out. Ohio State's beat us once or twice. Michigan's beat us 2 times in a row before that. I don't think they beat us at all.
So Michigan was 8-5 last year, 5-4 in the Big Ten.
We beat them by 50 in the Cotton Bowl, but they had to play inside.
I was at the Orange Bowl in 2000.
I was there too.
Brady.
Yeah, that was we missed an extra point in the
missed the extra point in overtime.
Yeah,
and Michigan won.
I was there. I tell you what, my kids. This is a great story. So we watched it all together. I had all my kids there. We were in Miami for a week. That's I used to live
your
there.
home away from
right.
home.
That's my home away from home. So, they, during that time frame, Alabama hadn't lost very much since when my kids were little. They was in the 90s, and we went on that long winning streak with Coach Stallings, and
that's right.
And this was the game at the beginning of the end, really, because the next year we were. But anyway, that was a great game, and Michigan played awesome. And Brady didn't start that game.
No, he finished it.
Nope, he
Right.
sure didn't.
Yeah, and I was like, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah.
Anyway, so all these Michigan fans, they were happy they won, and my kids had an experience in that. And this guy comes up and says some stuff. He wasn't being ugly. I didn't take it ugly. And I choose the spoils go the victor, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And my kids were like, whip his ass, Daddy, whip his ass. And it was a lesson for them because it says, son, to the victor goes the spoils. They're supposed to be happy.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're supposed to be real happy. When we were,
I just wanted to call in and get that off my chest. I'm also
I hope Michigan beats Ohio State again. I'll tell you
the
that.
Fifth year, what will be fifth year
I'll
in a row?
be pulling for Michigan in that game, 100%.
All right. Well, I do want to say this. I'm a high school football official in the state of Alabama. I'm going into year 20. We need some help so these boys can play football and keep everything going on. So if y'all can pass that on, we'd greatly appreciate it.
How would folks get involved?
Alabama High School Athletic Association.
Okay. Gotcha. AHSAA.com. Happy to pass it along.
So,
thank you for what you do.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot.
And tell my buddy Kyle Christian I said, hey.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all take it easy.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Good night. Thanks for the call.
Michigan was 8-5 last year, 5-4 in the Big Ten. They've got, game 2, sneaky good. Michigan at Oklahoma.
No, yeah. Well, wow. So I think Michigan is going to have a good team next year. I just don't think they'll win the Big. They'll win the Big Ten. I just don't think defensively. He's talking about them being good. I think they'll be good. I don't think they're going to miss 55. You don't know what an offensive line has to do to block him, and you have to block him, and he has to stay blocked because that guy can run like the wind. He's a big time player.
TJ Metcalf also was another addition during the offseason from Arkansas to Michigan. But there is a lot of key departures from last year's team. We shall see. We will also talk to Trevor Maddich after this 3-minute timeout. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, inviting you to come test drive any one of our over 100 F-150s. From rock-solid, dependable work trucks to our state-of-the-art Platinum Series, we've got an F-150 for you. Test drive one today, and you'll understand why the F-150 is the best-selling truck in America, going on 48 years in a row. Just as successful offenses and defenses are built on teamwork, Woody Anderson Ford is powered by our people. Our sales and service teams are well-trained to save you time and money. And because we want your business again and again, no one will work harder to earn it. Our mobile service teams come to your home or business for oil changes, brake work, tire rotations, and more. And the great thing is you don't pay extra for it. We come to you with mobile service at no extra charge. Proud to be local, family-owned, and at your service for over 62 years. Woody Anderson Ford, Alabama's F-150 Superstore.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
All right, man. Thank you. Anthony Davis had his season cut short after the shocking trade that sent Davis to the Mavericks for Luka Doncic. According to ESPN Shams Charania, Davis underwent surgery to repair detached retina. He is expected to be ready for training camp. Meanwhile, it continues to be a busy offseason. ESPN's Q Myers says more teams are making moves to contend, which will help the league.
What I can appreciate is the fact that it's not just the usual suspects across the NBA that are making moves, trying to be champions, right? It's teams like the Magic saying, wait a minute, hold on. We've got an opportunity here. Let's make a few moves here. Let's get a little aggressive. I can appreciate that. I think it's good for the league's health.
Also today, the Knicks made it official, introducing Mike Brown as their new head coach. Games are already underway in baseball. The Rays lead the Tigers 1-0 in the second. Detroit, with the best record of baseball, going for its 9th win in 12 games. Meanwhile, the Mets and Orioles are in a rain delay. The Yankees are home tonight to face the Mariners. Today, the team announced Jazz Chisholm is moving back to second base. He had been at third since his return from an injury. New York trails Toronto by 3.5 games in the AL East. The Blue Jays go for their 10th win in a row tonight against the White Sox. The Dodgers and Brewers continue their series tonight in Milwaukee. LA was blown out by the Brewers last night and now has lost 4 in a row. In hockey, ESPN's Emily Kaplan is reporting Gavin McKenna is committing to Penn State. McKenna is considered the sport's top prospect and the likely number 1 pick in the 2026 NHL draft. WNBA, Washington beat Chicago 81-79. Caitlin Clark is expected to return tomorrow night for Indiana against Golden State after missing time with a groin injury.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman, and coming up Wednesday, the Knicks have officially introduced Mike Brown as their new head coach. So does he have the most pressure of any head coach in sports to win a title? It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
97.7 ESPN The Zone. Welcome to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 256-576-4977.
That's how I roll. And I'm not going to drink and drive anymore.
That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Wes and Steve.
Back here in the studios of 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Less than a week away from heading over to Hot Atlanta. Getting ready for SEC Media Days, and there is plenty to dive into with our next guest, and that is the one and only Trevor Maddich on loan from the worldwide leader of ESPN. How are you, Trev?
I'm great, Steve. How you doing, man?
Doing real well. It's always fun catching up with you, but I've said it multiple times. I feel like I know less about these teams heading into even these media days.
Yeah. So, Trevor, how do you, with all the movement and all the different players, how can we? It's getting harder and harder to predict what might happen, isn't it?
Yeah, Wes, it really is. I mean, there's so many teams that are kind of bunched up, and teams with so many question marks. You know, Georgia is going to be having basically a new starting quarterback. So will Alabama. So will Texas. Right? There's just so many things going on that we just can't hardly predict. Ohio State has a new starting quarterback. Michigan's going to try to restart. I mean, really, Clemson and Penn State, you could say, you know, they've got the experienced quarterbacks coming back, but most of the other teams that are expected to be in the top 7 or 8 right now in preseason polls, we don't even know whether they're going to be able to play at a high level at that position. We think we have an idea, but we really don't know, and that's just at the quarterback position. That doesn't include everything else that's on the table.
Yeah.
So what I've noticed is in the past, when you lose a great defensive player, you always take a step back, no matter what, because all the calls change a little bit. The way you play things, it takes a minute to figure that out, especially now when they don't hit as much. What say you? I just don't think some of these teams are going to be the same without their great defensive players.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I mean, you know, Georgia's got to replace most of their defense. They've got a lot of guys that have played a lot of football, and they've got some, you know, it's not that everybody's inexperienced, but playing together is the hard thing. You know, because you can be a really talented defensive football player, but if you're doing a little bit too much of your own thing and the guys next to you or the guys behind you aren't quite sure what you're going to do, it's going to leave gaps.
No question.
And so coming together as a unit is hugely important on defense, and you lose those guys, you know, that's you lose not just the talent, you also lose the choreography that guys are used to having. So, you know, you just look at Texas, for example. Look at their offensive line. They're replacing, 4 of them, I think. Tennessee's replacing 4 starting offensive linemen. And how talented you are is a whole lot less important than how well you work together. And on defense, it's the same thing. I mean, on offense, if the offensive line doesn't work well together, you usually end up punting. On defense, if guys aren't in the right spot doing the right things relative to what they understand from their teammates and what they can do and what they will do, then it's not just a matter of punting. It's a matter of giving up a huge play. So that's one of the things I'll be really interested to watch, especially when you look at games like Ohio State against Texas. Both of them are incredibly talented, but in key places, they're very inexperienced with a whole lot of new people learning to play together, starting at quarterback for both Ohio State and Texas. So, it goes back to your original thought that, how do you really handicap all this stuff? And part of the fun of the beginning of this season is that you really can't. And we're going to discover a whole lot of things very early.
Well, one thing that at least piqued my curiosity, and I know this is putting NFL and NBA in here, but especially with practices getting fewer and fewer, especially in the NBA, we're starting to see a bigger uptick in injuries. And I'm wondering when we're going to see that rear its ugly head in college football, if you follow my, thought process there, Trevor.
No, I totally do, Stephen. It'll come when there's collective bargaining, because the reason that practices are more limited now, especially in the NFL and training camp, in terms of how many, padded practices you could have in a week, and same way in the regular season and all this, that came because of collective bargaining. Right now in college football, you can basically do pretty much what you can get away with, but in the NFL, you can't. And if you look at the NFL as an example, I mean, you talk about the injuries in the NBA. In the NFL, you can make a case that in training camp specifically, seasoned veterans don't need a whole lot of full pad practice to get ready for the season. They need enough so that they get into hitting shape, which you can't get in the weight room. You have to go out and hit. But overall, that seasoned veteran needs less than one of those younger guys who's trying to figure out how to be a professional in the NFL. And you come into a couple of problems that hurts the teams, and by extension, it hurts the fans. One is that backup quarterbacks in the NFL now only have 3 preseason games instead of 4 to be able to kind of get up to speed, because in the NFL, you don't play backup quarterbacks very often in regular season games, but you are probably going to need them. And by taking away that 4th preseason game, by limiting full pad practices, you take away from those backup quarterbacks the ability to be ready in the regular season. It's the same with other guys that are farther down the depth chart that are still important with the rotation in terms of depth. Even without injuries to the starters, it's like a hockey line. You got your first line, they'll go in there and play so hard for a few minutes that they have to come out, all of them. And then the next group goes in while the first group rests, and then you just keep rotating them. You see that on defensive lines a lot. And those guys, though, aren't going to be as ready for the season, both physically in terms of hitting and the conditioning you need early in the season, and the development of their capabilities to execute at the highest level that their talent will allow. So we've already seen these things affect the NFL. In college, you've got guys that don't have nearly as much football behind them, and it's going to affect them even more. We won't really see it, I don't think, until we have collective bargaining, but collective bargaining is on the way.
So are there any statistics that support them not hitting in practice and all? I mean, there are no two-a-days anymore. I know that early on you can see it on the field because they're not very good.
Yeah.
And I've been go ahead.
No, Wes, go ahead. You said
well, yeah, I mentioned, are there any statistics to back up that not hitting in practice leads to less injuries? Are there less injuries now than there used to be in the NFL?
That's a good question. I don't know about those statistics. I'm sure they've got them. You can actually make the case that from an owner's standpoint, their best interest converges with the player's best interest. In one place, in some places, other places, no. But one of those places is with head injuries, where, seeing a guy get smashed on the football field and laid out and have his neck in a collar and he's on a gurney and you're looking at his hands and feet to see if he's got movement, That's not good entertainment. And the NFL owners, whether or not they have any human compassion towards the guys that are being injured, they certainly have a business interest in limiting concussions. That plus head injuries tend to, require a lot of medical treatment down the road, and they want to save a lot of money as much as they can, right?
Yeah.
And so it's better for the players too. And so you see in the NFL rules that against targeting. And now fans have kind of accepted that, you can't target somebody's helmet, because that creates those head injuries and it takes away some spectacular hits, but it also keeps guys in the game and it protects people. You look at the NFL with their kickoff rules. Now, it looks really super strange, but injuries on kickoffs have gone way, way down, and injuries, not just head injuries, but other injuries are statistically, as you mentioned, Wes, more common on a per play basis on the old style kickoff than any other play.
Well, it's impossible to get hurt on the kickoff now.
Yeah,
They
well,
kick
good.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the only thing you can do is maybe pull a hamstring if you didn't stretch enough to jog. You're on your jog down the field.
Yeah,
it's hard to watch.
But see, I think that part of it is, And so, although I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of creative craziness kickoff return teams are able to do in terms of taking advantage of that, and new plays that we've never seen before because of the weirdness of the kickoff. But keep this in mind too, that NFL owners are very forward thinking to protect their money. College presidents have been derelict in the past at this. The reason we've got such chaos in terms of NIL and now direct payment of players and transfer portal, and there used to be more rules in transferring, and you couldn't transfer without sitting out a year. Then you could once without sitting out a year. Now you can transfer every year if you want. The reason is that as years ago, as the money in college football started to get huge, the presidents of the universities who control the NCAA didn't get ahead of the courts. And so finally, when the money got so big, lawyers started to say, look, it's unfair to these players to not have a bigger piece of this pie. They went to court, and all of a sudden, the people making the determination as to how college football was going to operate financially was not the people that had the most interest in the success of college football, which is the presidents and the universities and the coaches in college football conferences, but rather the courts and the legislators. So now you've got all kinds of craziness. Well, if those university presidents think in advance, they'll be thinking the way NFL owners are thinking in terms of the necessity to take some of the injuries out of the game, if at all possible, because there will come a time when these players are considered by law employees, workman's comp will come into effect, and long-term medical care for players' injuries will now be the liability of the universities. So they better jump on it sooner rather than later, or else the courts are going to dictate.
The other factor, at least off the field, has been a big talking point, has been the transfer portal. But I am of the belief, and I mean, just what little knowledge I have of these new contracts that these universities are coming out with, that they're putting in buyout clauses in these contracts, Trev. So I think, if anything, this is going to curb, at least for top level athletes that play college football, that portal is not going to be as big of an option moving forward with the buyouts.
Yeah, that and the thing is, you don't need collective bargaining for individual players to come to a contract agreement with an individual school.
That's right.
You might start to get into illegal restrictive trade if a conference dictates what the contracts need to be, and the player movement in terms of the portal will be within that conference. That may end up going to court and losing. But if an individual player, makes it worth their while to contractually obligate themselves to stay at a school for 2 or 3 or 4 years, then they can do that. And really, one of the big ones that's out there now is a guy, last name of Ojo, O-J-O. I'm spacing his first name. But he was one of the top recruits in the state of Texas, like second overall. He's an offensive tackle. And he ended up signing with Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
And the reports are it was a 3-year deal with just over $5 million guaranteed.
Felix.
Well, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, Felix. Yeah. If my understanding is that as I understand the contract based on reports, that obligates him to Texas Tech for 3 years. He can't transfer unless he pays certain prices that would be dictated in the contract. He can't just up and leave because he doesn't like the coach. And that money, $5 million guaranteed, to him made it worth his mile to make that commitment that he would not go into the transfer portal until he's been there for a fourth year.
Yeah.
So these are things that can happen, but ultimately it's going to be collectively bargained, and things are going to get very, very much like professional leagues.
Wow. It's that's a lot to chew on right there. I honestly forgot about that lawsuit until you brought it up, and so much is put on House versus NCAA that there is a lot on the table. There is still a lot on that table.
Yeah, Steve, the thing is, what we see now in terms of transfer portal, NIL, direct payment of players, all this stuff, we're nowhere near having it finalized.
Yeah.
As soon as the House settlement was agreed to, there was an immediate lawsuit by female athletes wanting a bigger share of the pie allocated to previous athletes.
Yeah.
And how is this going to deal with current athletes with Title IX? The thing I worry about more than any other single thing is what will it do to non-revenue sports? Because right now, just over $20 million as a cap can be allocated towards direct payment of players by the school, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's thinking about, okay, so, should this go 80% to football? Whose players get that? My thought is there are very few programs in the country that can just drop $20 million in addition to what they're already paying.
Yeah.
When we think of Texas and Ohio State and Alabama, sure, they got lots of money. But most schools, even in the power conferences, wouldn't be able just to come up with another $20 million that they just didn't have anything to do with. So how in the world are they going to be able to get enough money for that direct payment pool to get to the football and basketball, the revenue sports? And what I worry about is that they're just going to start to drop wrestling and swimming and gymnastics and track, keep enough women's sports to balance out what they need to do relative to Title IX and the men's sports. But I can see the whole thing not just having money go towards football, but being able to afford that by getting rid of other expenses in non-revenue sports. Now, that happened in COVID, by the way. A lot of schools dropped a lot of sports that were non-revenue. And so we'll see what happens with that. I mean, there's so much that we have still to see in terms of outcomes of all this stuff that you really can't say, hey, this is what's going to happen.
What you said about dropping the Olympic sports, we heard directly from the SEC commissioner to us that was a possibility.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear him say it. What did he say to you?
He said it last year at Media Days.
He sure did.
That it was
they don't want to.
Yeah. And what I think it was a call to Congress. They're going to have to do something because they're getting basically free training for all their Olympic athletes.
Yeah. And not just the United States, but around the globe.
Yeah. So, so he said that there are scenarios out there where they cut all Olympic sports.
Yep. Well, this is a scenario. This was a year ago that he told you guys that this is one of those scenarios that may be a catalyst to start it. Because once again, I mean, if let's say you're an SEC team, let's just say you're Kentucky, right, or you're South Carolina, or you're a team that's fighting in there to make your way into the upper echelon of the SEC, and other SEC schools, the Alabamas and Georgias of the world, Texas and Texas A&M, that have just money for days, are going to be able to have a bigger portion of their direct pool to pay players directly than you will be able to because they have more money than you do. You all get the same amount from a standpoint of the TV and stuff like that. But overall, Texas makes more money than pretty much any team in the SEC, and they're going to be able to more easily just drop another $20 million on to fully maximize the direct payment of players cap of 20-some million. So, This is, most schools aren't going to be able to do that. They're going to have to decide what's more important to them. Having the Olympic sports around or getting rid of as many Olympic sports as necessary to remain competitive in football.
So already we heard the commissioner from the Big 12 today talk about how they're going to have a oversight the possible cheating on the paying players NIL money, this or that.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So
Brian Seeley.
Yeah. Auburn recently lost, I think, 4 or 5 of the recruits, and there's been a lot of innuendo that there's already cheating going on as far as paying players extra money, recruits that aren't true NIL. How do we get a hold of this? Can they even do that, Trevor?
Well, I think that's illegal restraint of trade. I think the courts will shoot that down. I mean, there's now a commission that one of its jobs is to evaluate every NIL contract that's over $600 to see if it's an actual legitimate market value NIL deal or if it's just pay for play. And that sounds decent on the surface. The problem is who is brilliant enough to say what somebody's market value is in a given scenario. Let's say a tech company wants to pay the starting quarterback $2 million a year to be involved in its advertising to a degree and to sign some autographs 2 days a year at some of their conventions, right? And what if that committee or that commission says, no, that's not worth $2 million a year. That's only worth $750,000 a year, and we're going to void that contract. Well, here comes a lawsuit. And how does this commission claim in front of a judge that it is the ultimate authority on what is fair market value and what is not? Why is one painting worth $20 million and another one sells at a garage sale that looks kind of similar in some ways for $20? It's because that's what someone will pay for it, and that's what it's worth to them. And to have a commission of people making that determination for everything over $600, which is to say everything, that's just lawsuit after lawsuit waiting to happen, and they're just going to have to drop that whole thing, I think. I mean, that's just sort of my guess, but I just can't imagine that if keeping a player from transferring is illegal restraint of trade, how in the world is telling a guy that he can only make $1 million instead of the $2 million that he signed for?
The contract part, though, I think that'll be fine. It's this, what you said exactly is what I'm worried about. Although, and I still, this really doesn't matter to me, but you might know different, but I was told that on the settlement agreement that they went back and everybody had like the center from Alabama, I know is getting like $250,000. The one that went to Ohio State.
Yeah.
That he's getting like 250 or something, and somebody, the way they had evaluated what his NIL number was.
Seth McLaughlin,
yeah. So they did it in that kind of standard, but that's on a lawsuit. I don't think Trevor. I don't think they'll be able to get away with that. I think you're exactly right, though. I don't see how they will.
Yeah. Because, I'm sorry, Wes. Go ahead.
No, you're in it. I'm just stumbling on this because I don't know. I'm trying to think how they could get around it, and without collective bargaining, there's none of this. They're going to need help, like the commissioner said from the Big 12 today.
Yeah,
they got it all figured out. They're going to need a little help, and I don't think the little help is coming anytime soon.
No, it's not.
But then how do you collectively bargain? Because you've got a program like Alabama or Texas that's spent decades investing maximum finances and commitment to their athletic program, especially football. And then you've got other programs that are smaller and don't have the resources, might not have the same commitment. And how in the world do you collectively bargain in a way that is fair to both of them without taking away from Alabama and Texas and giving it to, state U in some small place that hasn't invested like Alabama and Texas have? And I don't think that's fair either. And so that's why I think that we're on the way to seeing the SEC and the Big Ten splitting into its own kind of division, kind of a thing. You can already see the writing on the wall because they currently make so much more in all the various revenue streams from even the other power conferences, ACC and Big 12, that over the course of time, that's just going to get bigger and bigger. And now with direct payment of players, they will have far more money to be able to pay players than anybody else will. The best transfers are going to go to where they can get the most money. The best high school recruits are going to go to where they can get the most money. And I kind of think that one thing that we'll see is most high school recruits will go to conferences other than the SEC or the Big Ten, prove themselves, and then go as transfer free agents to the SEC and the Big Ten because they'll be able to pay the most. So you'll see sort of a farm system in the rest of college football. Now, this will take years to materialize, but the differences in the money that these schools are making currently, spread it out over 10 years, you're talking about, $500 million more per school, maybe over 15 years. If they're getting 30 or 40 million more than, other schools that they're competing with. So all these things make it difficult, if not impossible, to collectively bargain outside of, their own conferences, and maybe those two conferences being the top of college football. And you can still keep a 16-team playoff. It's just that 14 of them are going to come from the SEC and the Big Ten,
Right.
And
So Trevor, let me ask you this real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So how do the smaller schools stay in business if they can't play the bigger schools and get that money?
Well, the smaller of the smaller schools, the ones that have the payoff games the week before rivalry game in the SEC, for example.
Yeah.
Alabama gets all kinds of grief for playing, an FCS school before they play Auburn, and South Carolina, before they play Clemson, same thing. And, and in South Carolina, in that state, they usually play schools that are in that state, like Steve Spurrier always scheduled Wofford, I think, just to keep the money in the state, right? Well, those schools are in deep trouble because that paycheck from that game for those smaller schools could be their entire athletic budget. And you take that away, now you got a big problem, and it's just going to have to settle down and settle out. If you compare yourself to the biggest conferences, and you're not in a big conference, you're going to end up being completely frustrated. And really what it comes down to is you've got to excel at the level that you're at. For example, you've got lots of schools, lots of coaches at the Group of Five level, which is to say the MAC and Sun Belt and those conferences, that are always complaining about how their best players, they develop them and then they go off to bigger schools for bigger money than the Group of Five schools can afford. And those coaches complain about that all the time. And my thought is, don't complain about that. Well, you have to be as better at it than the guys you're competing with in your conference. In other words, that your best players that you develop are going to be leaving.
Yeah.
You've got to be better at identifying other diamonds in the rough that you could be developing behind them that'll come to your school that that you can develop into really good college football players at your level. Then the best of those will go off somewhere else. You've got to be better than, Troy's got to be better at it than Appalachian State, right? Kent State, bless their hearts, have to be better at it than Northern Illinois. That's the game they're playing. And if they try to play the game that the SEC and the Big Ten are playing, they're going to have nothing but frustration and failure. So they've got to understand where they are, and they've got to be the best at what the game is that they have to play in order to be successful at their level. Now, you can always be Texas Tech. That can throw in a whole bunch of oil money and all of a sudden bring in the top transfer class in college football and compete at a higher level, they believe, they hope, than they ordinarily would be able to. But that's what it would take.
So is there a way, Trevor, that maybe these kids sign contracts that go to Louisiana Lafayette, say, and LSU still is one of their players, that you could get compensated when they leave to go to LSU, and that be some way to help those schools stay in business?
Well, you know what? That's a great point, Wes. I never thought of that. That's really smart. So let's say Louisiana Tech has an edge rusher, that's going to be a first-round draft choice. And he has got a 3-year contract with Louisiana Tech so he could maximize his monetary opportunity at Louisiana Tech. And all of a sudden, he has a chance to break that contract and go to LSU. Let's say there's a deal in there. I'm just thinking out loud now. Let's say the Louisiana Tech contract has a $1 million buyout in order for him to leave. And part of his deal with LSU is for LSU, or in terms of NIL, the boosters or whatever, to pay the buyout. Now, that's something that's actually a very good idea. That's really interesting. Yeah, you should be a lawyer, Wes.
According to Ross Dellinger, a total of 319 Division I schools opted in to this House settlement. That's 82% of Division I. And this is just for one academic year. They have until March 1st of 26 to make plans for the following academic year. Something tells me that number is going to go down from 319.
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, I'm guessing most of those wouldn't be able to pay the 20 million plus in direct payments. But I wonder if they are not part of the House settlement, if they don't opt in, what does that mean for them? I mean, I don't understand what that would even mean.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're just such a mess.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to know. If you get on a lawyer, ask them that question, because it's beyond my ability to be able to answer intelligently. But what happens if a university does not opt into the House settlement, and does that put them at a competitive disadvantage for those who do opt in, given universities at a similar level of financial capability?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't think anybody that can pay won't opt in, to be honest with you, because I think their exposure is bigger if they don't opt in. But the schools, you can't get blood out of a turnip, right? That's the old saying down here. So just in case you're wondering, I don't know how I love turnip greens. So yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, although when I was playing though, I could squeeze a turnip hard enough to get lots of stuff out of it.
yeah,
It just
but
really
not
depends.
blood, because there's no blood in a
That's
turnip.
not blood. That's
Yeah.
fair.
So you get a lot of stuff. I think you can ferment it even. But anyway, I have never tried that. But I bet you could.
Well, if you
Anyway,
really hate turnips, you can do stuff.
yeah. Anyway, the whole point is, I don't think they have. You can sue them, but you're not going to get any money, right? I mean, they're not taking advantage of the players. They don't have any money in the first place.
Yeah.
So I think that the only people that will opt in will be the people that have the money, because they don't want to have to be competitive by paying $30 million. They get to pay 20. And a lot of these guys are excited about this because there are some guardrails. How long the guardrails last? Like there's already, like you said, there's already a lawsuit.
Yeah.
I don't think it's very long. So we'll see.
Yeah. Although, one thing that's interesting as I think about it, and this is Wes with you with your legal genius, whether it's intentional or not.
It's not
actually
intentional.
said some stuff there. Yeah. But what I'm thinking is, NIL, you think of companies and boosters, and often those boosters, are still associated with their companies, that are kicking in all this money year after year after year for NIL stuff. I wonder how schools could make it worth their while to give them even more value than just having the NIL from the players. In other words, give them access, give them, if you contribute X amount, I don't know, $5 million a year, whatever it is, to our NIL collective, then we'll get you a luxury box at the stadium for the season. Or I'm wondering if there's a way to legally allow greater benefit to organizations that are funding this stuff, so that it's not just a charitable donation. That would be something interesting to explore, because it would make it more likely that you'd have more money for more universities if that was the case.
Well, I think that's going on already, because so you'll be, for the big schools, like I know at Alabama, the biggest box, I don't know how long you get it for, but it's like $3 million to get to get access to the box, and then you got to buy the tickets. And I don't know how many years that's over. I can find out. But all the big schools are already getting that income coming in, right?
Yeah, but see, that's what's going to fund the direct payment from the house agreement. I'm talking about NIL stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happened is there's always been a fight for the money from the universities versus the athletic departments. Always. It's always been there. Used to be actually the presidents controlled all the money and would take all the money and kind of choked off the athletic departments. That kind of went away during the arms race when they started building all this stuff.
Yeah.
And you look at it's like the Alabama went from 18,000 students. I think they had 45,000 students, including their master's degrees and all that, since Coach Saban first got there versus now. There are more people go to the University of Alabama that aren't from the state of Alabama than are. And I think that's what you –
And then out-of-state tuition.
Yeah, out-of-state tuition's $10,000 a semester. So that's 20.
Yeah, well,
so the money that the University of Alabama's made from Coach Saban is it's infallible. Everybody said they were paying him too much. Hell, I don't think they gave him enough. Think about that: 30,000 students paying $10,000 extra a semester.
Yep. Well, I go back to Doug Flutie with Boston College when he won the Heisman Trophy. This is what was it, in the 80s or something.
Oh yeah, I can tell you. Yeah, he got his first half of the trophy came in Birmingham. The other half of the trophy came in Miami.
Oh, that's hilarious. I'm sorry I brought that up. Wes.
Thank you. Yeah, I won't sleep tonight, but don't worry about it.
But the thing is, nobody ever heard of Boston College. And all of a sudden, because of Flutie and that football team, their freshman application went way up. Their donations went way up. You know, they made so much money from things that had nothing to do directly with football because so many people wanted to be a part of Boston College now. And that's way back in the day, right? And so yeah, no, I hear you there. And also remember that a lot of football programs, especially at the higher end, are financially separate from the university. So the money comes in and they do their own thing, and then they donate back to the university to help fund the academic stuff because, you know, the biggest ones that can do this have a surplus typically. And so, you know, the way the finances are set up, you know, they're going to have to figure out how to untangle all that stuff when you got these extra revenue streams rolling in.
There's just a lot that's, as you said, who knows what it's going to look like. I hope some way they can keep these smaller schools in business because the opportunities that come from them are unimaginable. To be able to play college football, the discipline it gets you, everything about it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And I hope that Congress does get involved and they give them some kind of exemption, and that solves all the problems we talked about. But takes care of the players at the same time.
Yeah, and the thing is, there's just going to be different levels of what that looks like, and you know, it depends on what level you want to try to compete at, because that's where you get the risk for Olympic sports going away. But you're right. I mean, people that are in those sports, I mean, wrestling and hockey and soccer. Soccer is a club sport in a lot of schools. It's a NCAA sport in others. You know, lacrosse and so many things that enrich individual people's lives in those university communities have a good chance of going away so that schools can be paying better football players. And that would be a travesty if it turned out to be a worst case scenario along those lines.
Trevor, I will tell you as I close with you that I did kind of look into the communications page into the National Football League on injuries, and there's obviously a lot on concussions, but getting further in the weeds, there is a couple of studies mainly done by the Seton Medical Center, as well as there's also they attribute a spike in injuries off of the athletic turf that was used from the mid-'80s, that evidently there was a spike in how poorly the athletic turf that you guys were playing on back in the day, and changing that athletic turf has significantly lessened the ankle injuries, knee injuries of that ilk that I'm sure you're fully aware of.
Oh, yeah, but see, that's good for the owners, too, especially as salaries have gotten so big, because now all of a sudden these players that they're playing are less likely to be on the sideline with an injury.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
there are interests that converge, and that's one of them.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough, and I appreciate the extended visit.
Yeah, I enjoyed the heck out of this. I learned a lot.
Listen, I have so much fun talking to you guys, and I learned a lot, too. And Wes, there needs to be like a Boston Legal style law firm, like Suits, starring you, because you come up with some pretty amazing stuff.
I just got a vivid imagination.
Appreciate the phone call,
Thank you,
and
Trevor.
thank you so much for the extended visit, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Thanks, Wes.
That is Trevor Mattich. Boy, always.
Yeah, I mean, we solved a lot of problems. I hope the right people are listening.
Let's take our first time out at 41 after the hour. That was a lot of fun right there.
I hope Tom's not passed out.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Since 1983, Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate's Ann Adams has been your local go-to real estate expert in the area. As a buyer, you can trust Ann's in-depth knowledge of the local housing market to narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in, saving you time when shopping for a new home. When you're ready to sell, Ann's expert negotiation skills will ensure you get a fair price and hassle-free experience. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or email annadamsrise@gmail.com.
There is power in caring when it is put into action. Each year, our bankers serve on nonprofit boards, support our local educators, and volunteer with our hometown food bank. I'm Bobby Humphrey, Vice President of Business Development for Bryan Bank, and community service is just not a line item in our mission statement. It's who we are. Because after all, Alabama is our home too. That kind of commitment to community might not be what you would expect from a bank, but it's exactly what you can expect from us. Give us a call or stop by one of our 2 offices in the Huntsville area and experience unbeatable service and legendary results.
Bryan Bank Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 2428943, member FDIC.
It's an amazing time in our industry. Things are changing so rapidly. With digital signatures and workflow software, we help our customers work from anywhere. This helps you save time and money and upgrade your technology. Like I said, it's an amazing time to watch our customers grow and succeed.
I'm here with Stan McDonald of Jacob Title. Stan, I've heard that every real estate closing at Jacob Title is a very big deal. Why is that?
Wes, I'm reminded of a very impactful statement that I heard from Coach Gene Stallings years ago when he talked about big games and little games. He said he didn't like that comparison. He says, because try losing one of those little games. And if you ever do, it ends up being the biggest game all year long. Well, it's the same thing with real estate closings. Every game, every closing is a very big deal at Jacob Title. Because when it's your closing and your contract on the line, it's a very big deal. And we understand that at Jacob Title.
So it sounds like whether your client is a first-time residential buyer or a multi-million-dollar investor, they can expect your A game.
That's exactly right. As a matter of fact, when you bring your real estate closing to us at Jacob Title, we understand it's all about trust and confidence. And when Stan McDonald tells you that a chicken dips snuff, you can look under his wing for the box.
And like Beebs likes to say, there's no doubt about it.
This is Steve Moulton for Tellini's Italiano. Tellini's Italiano is located right in front of the Walmart, right off of University, behind the McDonald's. More or less catty corner from Topgolf. It's one of my favorite places to go to, and if you go there, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you need to try the baked spaghetti, add a meatball. Also try the baked ziti with meat sauce, add sausage. You'll thank me. Save room for some pizzas and paninis as well. And don't forget about dessert as well. The best cheesecake I have had here in North Alabama is at Tellini's Italiano. Find out for yourself today. That's Tellini's Italiano, right off of University Drive in front of the Walmart. Located online at Tellinis.com. That's TELLINIS.com. Let's get some Tellini's tonight.
The Atlanta Braves.
3-2. Swung on, ground ball up the middle. Let's go for a ride. Here comes Eli. Across the plate standing. Braves win. Never gets old, does it?
All season long on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
That's obviously an archived promo right there. We'll see whether or not the Braves can get it together tonight. In Sacramento, taking on the Athletics.
The Insomniac series tonight picks up at 9 o'clock.
The Braves are 39-50. The A's have a worse record than the Atlanta Braves. They're 37-55. Yeehaw. Didier Fuentes is on the mound for the Braves tonight. Has an 0-2 record with a 9 ERA. But he is 20. I mean, in all seriousness, he should be a Gwinnett Striper and not an Atlanta Brave. But, you know, we shall see. And that'll about wrap up this segment. We do need to take another time out. Hope you enjoyed that deep dive into the Braves A's series right there.
Yeah. Breathe, lift your legs.
Yeah.
It's a marathon, not a race.
Yeah, that's right. We'll have coverage of Braves and A's a little bit later on. You get to hear whoever's filling in for Feinbaum. I still have no idea who's filling in for Feinbaum this week.
It's not the guy who usually does. He who shall not be named.
Yeah.
It's not him this week.
No.
Not even on the docket.
No, I'm too busy hearing about Big Ten football from this guy.
Well, there you go.
On the SEC network.
Yeah, the SEC is just swimming in their wake.
Yeah. Let's take our final time out. Final call for phone calls on the other side. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Your customers deserve the best, and so do you. You invest in your customers with your heart, soul, and skill. Well, it's time to invest in yourself with the next generation Cat 255 compact track loader from Thompson Tractor. After all, those who give their best deserve the best, and this machine has it all. With features that include a more powerful engine, tri-axle truck loading capabilities, a spacious cab, and a smooth ride for all-day comfort. Best of all, now Thompson Tractor is making that investment even better with our Workhorse Special. Get 0% financing for 36 months on the purchase of a new Cat 255 compact track loader that comes with a 3-year warranty. You also get a 74-inch bucket and 1,000-hour filter kit. But hurry, this offer is only good through June 30th. Visit ThompsonTractor.com for details. Thompson Tractor. We're here for you.
Hi, my name is Dan Aldridge. I'm here to let you know about the Aldridge Law Firm and the soon-to-be-announced Legal Town Center. I've been practicing law in Alabama since 1984, and I also practice in Tennessee. And I'm from North Alabama, and I'm here to represent you and take care of your legal needs. For many of us, hiring an attorney is not high on the priority list and maybe a little scary. But it's something that we all need at some point. So by all means, do your homework. And if you need representation for car accident, wrongful death, medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, or estate planning, or any other matter, just give us a call at 256-534-3188. And you can email me at Dan, that is Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. God bless America.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryrentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryrentals.com.
By now, you know about Eagle Masonry and Insulation, and maybe you know that Eagle also does landscaping and dirt work. But how about after paint work? Shower doors, shelving, and mirrors, all taken care of by Eagle, the same Eagle that takes care of all your masonry, insulation, and landscaping needs. Eagle brings the same level of expertise to all these disciplines, and they're ready to provide you with a free quote. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
Hello, listeners. My name is Jonathan Dunwoody, and I own Minuteman Press. We are a full-service print shop that is locally owned and operated. I have personally been handling direct mail for over 17 years and have a great relationship with the USPS. We are the only print shop in the area that is listed as a print provider on their website and the only printing franchise that can use their logo as our partner on marketing materials. We can help from conception to design, print, and delivery to the post office. And with our easy, secure online payment option, you don't even need to leave your office. Minuteman Press, we're not just putting ink on paper, we're building relationships.
Your Fox 54 weather brought to you by Tellini's Italiano.
I'm Fox 54 meteorologist Emily Owen. A few isolated showers could continue to linger for this Tuesday night. Otherwise, expect to sit under a mostly clear sky with low temperatures falling into the low 70s. Heading into our Wednesday, rain chances increase as well as temperatures. We're going to rise back into the low 90s. Scattered showers and thunderstorms in the forecast.
Your Fox 54 weather only on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Weekday mornings beginning at 7 a.m. Only on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
It's a time of lists. This is list season or watch season. Pro Football Focus, they have now come out with their top 10 coaches of college football that the NFL might poach. That this is Pro Football Focus of the top 10 coaches in college football entering in this season that might be poached into the National Football League, whatever that's worth. Alex Byington wrote this. This is from Pro Football Focus, though. As your list of 10 coaches in no particular order from Pro Football Focus: Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, Dabo Sweeney.
Not going to happen, not going to happen, not going to happen.
Dan Lanning.
So here's why that's not going to happen. Well, Dan Lanning maybe.
Marcus Freeman.
If you're not, unless you're not doing well and they're going to get rid of you, why would you leave Georgia to go to the NFL team? The taxes are going to be higher. How much more, Oregon's different. Their tax system's high already. So if you're going from Oregon, if you're going from a high tax state,
mm-hmm.
and then you go to the NFL and all of a sudden in the NFL, these teams make you fill out when you play a game in California, you got to pay taxes to California.
Privilege of doing your job in another state.
That's the craziest stuff ever.
The other four coaches are Steve Sarkisian, Kalen DeBoer, James Franklin, Brian Kelly, and Kirk Cignetti. Those are the 10 names.
Now I could see Cignetti doing it. Because he's not in a program that's historically wins.
Yeah.
So I don't think any of those guys will leave. I don't think they'll go to the NFL. I don't think they'll get the opportunity either.
So the final story that I wanted to squeeze in.
It's Kirby Smart really. Does he give you the?
No, he does not give me NFL vibes.
No.
Everybody was saying he's the next Falcon coach. I'd never.
The only reason he will leave, if the Georgia fans just start, getting where they're not happy and they're whining because they're not winning championships, right? But he won the SEC last year, right?
He did.
But they're still whining.
Not good enough.
Yeah. See what I'm saying?
But I think he likes that, at least temporarily.
Yeah, exactly. What happens when he quits winning conference again? He had the best players when he won.
He did.
I do not think they have the best.
No, I don't either. Finally, we talked about this story late last year. Joe Burrow's house was burglarized
in a thing that happened late last year that was right after the Bengals' victory over the Dallas Cowboys. Well, he is part of a Netflix series, quarterback series, and now he's getting ready to embark on an opportunity here with Hard Knocks, and he made it known that he had the opportunity. Can you imagine this kind of wealth? He had the opportunity to buy the Batmobile and
I'm listening.
And set it up. Yeah, set it up. Quote, I didn't end up purchasing the Batmobile because it was 1 week after I got burglarized. End quote.
Okay, how big a loss is this? I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, Batman
is it
helped
the old 1960s George Barris Batmobile? Or is the new ones on the
It
movie?
does not specify which Batmobile
Batman could have helped him.
Joe Burrow almost purchased, but did not because his home was burglarized.
But this was
that's the excuse I use too.
That was a thing going on. They were burglarizing all these NFL players on Sunday because they knew they were home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adam West had one of those.
Did he really?
He had to sell it.
Yeah.
Hungry ex-wives to feed. There were 3 at one time of the George Barris Batmobiles.
Yeah. It does not specify which Batmobile.
Well, when I say the Batmobile, that's what I mean.
In fact, he had to pay a penalty to this company that he signed paperwork. Yeah, you just don't walk up.
Brian
and say,
knows way too much about Batmobiles. Though.
Yeah.
That's,
I knew I'd get his attention by saying Batmobile, but I mean, Joe.
I'm not going to talk about.
I mean,
those
to think about the kind of wealth that Joe Burrow currently has, not the fact that he certainly has earned it. There's no questioning that.
Well, I am living proof you cannot get a car from a dealership just on your looks.
So
they don't make Volkswagens anymore, do they?
I have one of those too. I would have one. Yeah, I would.
I'm kidding. I think they do make Volkswagens.
I'm shopping for a cabriolet right now for my wife.
A what now?
A cabriolet, the Bug, but it's.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
I want.
Oh,
one
really?
of those.
Are those not expensive?
Well, I'm trying to find one that I can restore.
There you go.
Smart.
At least that's my excuse.
Yeah. So yes, Joe Burrow had the burglary happened 9 days later, he would have had the Batmobile.
Huh.
But passed on it and paid a penalty.
Yes.
So
it's easy to look back on things.
George Barris made the car from the Monkees too. That 4-seater, buggy looking thing. That's the George Barris car.
Huh.
Yeah, he made a lot of cars in the 60s. Helped with the modifications for the James Bond Aston Martin.
Herbie?
Herbie the Love Bug.
Yeah. No mention about Herbie in the story, whether or not Joe Burrow's going to buy Herbie.
I'd have Herbie the Love Bug, and I'd drive it every day. I would. I'd show it up, park it here in front of this building, right next to Wes's truck.
Woody Anderson Ford.
There you go.
Anyway.
So there you go. The Batmobile still up for purchase.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
I'll send you the link.
Yeah, send me the link.
I'll send you the link.
I will love when I pull up and see that Batmobile in the parking lot.
Well, if they'll take a check.
You can only imagine what's on those checks.
I can't be broke. I saw that check slip.
All right, that's going to wrap us up. More Feinbaum on the other side. Can't wait for that.
Feinbaum after God.
Yeah. Braves baseball as well later on.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. Your home of the Crimson Tide Sports Network. This hour of the Paul Feinbaum Show is brought to you by Sensa Green Heating, Cooling.